Hello everyone, this is Showtime 112. Bell P-39 Airacobra is an American fighter plane that's generally considered unsuccessful in the service of its home country. US Army Air Force used it mostly in the Pacific Theater, where it faced superior Japanese Zeros, flown by well-trained and experienced pilots. P-39's problems primarily came from its poor high-altitude performance. Although Airacobras suffered heavy losses, they still played a big role in holding back the Japanese offensive in New Guinea and Guadalcanal long enough for the Allies to take the initiative. In the American service, P-39 is credited with over 300 aerial victories. More than 20 American pilots who achieved their first kills on the Airacobra would later become aces. But only one single American pilot was credited with 5 victories exclusively on P-39. William Fiedler enlisted in the US Army after the Pearl Harbor attack. He was deployed with the 70th Fighter Squadron to Henderson Field, Guadalcanal in January 1943. At this point, Japanese troops were still present on the island. On 26th of January, he took off with his leader, Lieutenant Larry McCullough, to investigate the sighting of a dinghy near Choiseul. The two Airacobras arrived in the vicinity of the location at 7:30 a.m. McCullough dropped down to a few hundred feet, while Fiedler stayed at 2,500 feet. After more than an hour, Fiedler spotted a Kawanishi H-6K Mavis flying boat coming in from the west. It was escorted by a fighter identified as Mark II Zero. This was A6M3, which was initially believed by the Allies to be a separate model and even given a new designation, HAMP. The Japanese flying boat was there to rescue a pilot stranded on the island. It landed offshore, but the downed pilot was initially reluctant to swim because of sharks. He eventually reached the Mavis, which then took off. Fiedler reported his sighting to his leader, but received no reply. He nevertheless climbed, approached the Japanese plane and made a high side pass. He was certain he achieved some hits, and as he pulled away, he saw his leader McCullough attacking from below. But both American pilots were unaware that there were more Zeros flying high cover. As McCullough was pulling away from his attack, he was hit by Lieutenant Yuzo Tsukamoto, who had dived in response to Fiedler's attack. This video is sponsored by Private Internet Access VPN. As someone whose Google account has recently been hacked, I understand the need for internet safety. A great way to make your online activity safer is to use a virtual private network which hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. Hackers, governments, or anyone else will have a hard time trying to access your personal information or online activity log. If you like to watch movies, TV shows, or sports on streaming platforms, you probably know that you can only access a part of their content based on your geographical location. PIA VPN can again help you, and you will be able to access any content you like by simply changing your virtual location to another country. I recently watched the classic comedy Smokey and the Bandit, which isn't available on Netflix in my country, but a simple PIA VPN connection to a US-based server made it instantly accessible. Why I choose PIA VPN among other providers? It's available on any platform you might use. They have a no-logs policy, which they have proven multiple times in court, and which has been verified by a third-party audit. PIA works with all major streaming services, and it's one of a few providers which supports peer-to-peer file sharing. They have servers in 91 countries. Signing up is risk-free as they offer a 30 days money-back guarantee. Just click on my link in the video description and get an 83% discount. That's only $2.03 per month, and you will also get extra 4 months for free. Fiedler was stunned to see his leader's aircraft on fire with a couple of zeros on his tail, plus some more following them. He turned left to assist McCullough and managed to achieve hits on 1-0. The Japanese fighter spurted smoke, and Fiedler claimed it a kill. It seems, however, that according to Japanese records, all the zeros returned to base. Fiedler spotted a dinghy where McCullough's P-39 hit the water, but no pilot was in it. There was no time for a search, as he became the focus of attention of all the zeros. He opened his throttle and, after a long chase, outran his pursuers, which turned away. Pilots of the 252nd Kokutai claimed one P-39 shot down and another as a probable. McCullough survived the ditching, and he was eventually rescued by a submarine. On 4th of February 1943, the Japanese decided to evacuate their troops from Guadalcanal by another of their so-called Tokyo Express convoys. This one consisted of 11 transport destroyers and 9 escorts, and was detected sailing through the Slot, a narrow channel amidst the Solomon Islands. As Allied coast watchers reported their sightings to Guadalcanal in the afternoon, Americans launched a mixed formation of 25 bombers and 28 fighters. The strike formation located the convoy at 4 p.m., and they quickly met the escorting fighters. The Japanese fighter escort consisted of about 25 Navy Zeros and 16 Army Ki-43 Oscars. The P-39s were escorting TBF Avengers, which descended from 14,000 feet all the way down to 200 feet to make their attack runs. But before they could approach the ships, they were intercepted by Zeros and Oscars. P-39 leader Captain Robinson claimed 2 Zeros, including one that was chasing his wingman. Bill Fiedler claimed 1 0 in the low-level combat, his second victory. The Allied formation lost 6 aircraft altogether and claimed 7 Japanese fighters. 1 destroyer was seriously damaged. Fiedler achieved his 3rd kill on 12th of June 1943. He was now flying with the 68 Fighter Squadron. The Japanese sent a fighter sweep of about 50 Zeros towards the Russell Islands, and Americans confronted them with no less than 90 fighters. In the confrontation between the two formations, Fiedler claimed his 3rd victory, but sadly, no specific details are mentioned by any of the sources I could find. American pilots claimed 30 victories in the battle. 4 days later, on 16th of June, a large Japanese force was intercepted heading for American transport ships near Guadalcanal. It consisted of 50 Aichi D-3A Val dive bombers, plus at least 50 Zeros in close escort and in fighter sweep ahead of the formation. This strong strike force could be devastating for the transport ships, and the Americans sent as many fighters as they could to meet the Japanese. Fiedler's flight consisted of 6 P-39s. They were the last ones to take off, as they were held in reserve to meet the threat to the transport convoy. Thanks to the fact that previous American flights had dispersed most of the Japanese fighter escorts, Fiedler's flight now had a clear shot at the dive bombers. He seized the opportunity and quickly shot one Val down. Fiedler's luck seemed to run out, as his nose cannon and 50 caliber machine guns jammed. but he still had his wing-mounted 30 caliber machine guns, and he achieved his 5th aerial victory with them alone. American fighter pilots claimed heavily in this battle. More than 30 victories were claimed by Navy and Marine pilots, while over 40 were claimed by the Army. Although these results were probably overclaimed, most Americans agreed that Zeros were flown by inexperienced pilots who employed ineffective tactics. William Fiedler was now officially an ace, the only non-Soviet P-39 pilot with such an achievement. Sadly, he couldn't enjoy his new status for very long. Only 2 weeks later, on 30th of June 1943, as he was waiting for his turn to take off on the taxiway, his Airacobra was hit by a P-38, which had suffered an engine failure on takeoff. Both fighters exploded. Fiedler was still alive when he was taken out, but he died several hours later. P-39 Airacobra might be one of the most unloved American fighter planes of World War II, and most of its pilots were probably happy when their units upgraded to more capable types. But it still performed a critical role in the early days of the Pacific War. Of course, P-39 service in the Soviet Union is a completely different story that deserves at least a couple of future videos. Let me thank PIA VPN for sponsoring this video. Click on my link to grab an 83% discount plus extra 4 months for free with a 30 days money-back guarantee. Thank you for your time and keep watching Showtime 112.